Hey everyone, welcome to the final day of Land Week. We're joined today by Callan Faulkner from REI Optimize. Callan, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great. I say this every time I talk to you. You were on our podcast Deal Nation recently, and I said, anytime that I need to know what technology and what tools are the most viable and important for REI right now, I call you. So I'm excited to have you on. Excited to have you talk about AI. Before we get into the meat of this, for everybody who's joining, if you're just joining, and this is the first and only workshop that you have been able to attend, Land Week was designed as a series of education modules. So you definitely want to go back. You can view them on our YouTube live channel. Callan, I don't know, you should have the option to go live on your channel now if you want to go live on your channel as well.
Love it.
So yeah, guys, on Monday, we had Seth Williams from RE Tipster on. He was talking educational resources, how to just vet land as a business for yourself, and then really kind of getting into some of the specifics of what to look for and what to look out for. And then on Tuesday, we had the guys from Priced coming in, and we did a real deep dive on market analysis and data analysis, and came up with some strategies that you can extrapolate from that to use to within whatever your chosen market is for your land business. On Wednesday, we had Jaron Barnes from the Land Maverick Society on. Jaron was great. We talked all about mentorship, how to choose the right mentor for yourself. He even ran a live call with a seller to go over pricing on the workshop, so everybody can get an idea of kind of how he coaches people through those calls. So definitely worth watching that one. And then yesterday we had Kevin Rockwood come on from Pebble REI, which if you don't know is the leading CRM for land investors. And we just talked about the importance of setting up systems and processes for your business early so that you can really have that infrastructure in place to grow to whatever size you want. And that was one of the things we really highlighted. Callan, I think you'd agree with this, is like going in knowing whether you're looking to build a lifestyle business and you have kind of an endpoint for that, or if you truly are looking to build generational wealth, get to that 7-figure business, have a team and a scalable system, knowing what your endpoint is, and then reverse engineering from there.
100%. Couldn't agree more. You gotta know where you're going. I think that's like work in life with your family, with your partnership, with your business. You gotta know where the end place is, or else it's gonna be impossible to get there.
No, I mean, I have this whole list of kind of tenets that I wrote down for all of like my own investing purposes. And a lot of my tenets are checks for myself to stay within that lifestyle business, right? To stay within that framework that I want and not kind of get caught up in the machinery and go too big when I don't actually want that,
Love it. That's awesome.
All right, guys. So before I hand over the keys to Callan, please ask questions early and often. The chat is live, so pop some questions in there. If we can get to them in the flow, if it makes sense to get to them in the flow, we'll do that. And if it is something that we need to just save for the Q&A at the end, we'll do that. But we will definitely get to everyone's questions in time. And then you'll notice in the chat, I left a few notes in there. If you're looking to book a strategy call with the launch team, there's a couple spots open for today and a few more on Monday. So if you want to grab one of those, the link's right there in the chat. It's also in the description for the workshop. And then everybody is, of course, invited to join our Facebook group. It is not locked for subscribers. Anybody in REI can join. It's just a place to get educated and network. And then finally, I just mentioned it a moment ago, but we've got a weekly podcast called Deal Nation. I included the link to the YouTube channel, but it is, of course, available everywhere. It's available on Spotify. It's available on Apple Podcasts. Funny story, Callan, I get a message from my mom yesterday saying, sends me a picture of her listening to Deal Nation in the car. And she just said, like, OMG, this is so much fun. And I was like, only a mom would say, who knows nothing about real estate, would say, oh, this is so much fun. But,
Oh my God, I love it.
I appreciate the feedback.
He loves you.
Appreciate the support.
Yep.
Yes, gotta love the support. Okay, so I'm gonna drop the screen share here, let you pop things up, and let's dive into AI and see what.
Let's freaking go. I love it. I love it. All right. Here we go. We're going to present big time, present full screen. I don't have that many slides, so bear with me. Can you guys see this? Can you see this okay, Michael?
I'm popping it up right now. There we go.
Right.
Yep.
You got it. Beautiful. All right. We're going to skip that. Okay. So a little bit, I want to orient you guys to me. I think most of you probably have seen me in or around launch control. I feel like I've been in the launch control world for, gosh, I think probably 3.5, 4 years now. And I got introduced to it from my buddy, Travis, who was in the wholesaling space, and then I was in the land space. I'm like, why are land investors so old school? What is going on? I don't understand. So I brought launch control into the land investing space about 3 years ago, and here we are, still using it today, and it's been amazing. But in July of 2023, which was about a year and a half ago, kind of in the height of my land investing business, I was reading this book called The E-Myth Revisited. And I was sitting at my dining room table, and I was sitting down to write out an SOP. And if anyone has ever written an SOP, you'll know that it's the worst thing in the world. I was introduced to AI that's in July of 2023 through a masterclass. And the first thing that he did in this masterclass was he used this prompt. We'll go over what prompts are in a second. But he opened up ChatGPT and he went in and he said, please take the transcript from the video I just created and build out a professional, easy to understand SOP. And an SOP, if you guys have made one before, they're detail oriented. There's all these I's to dot and T's to cross. And it is like literally the worst thing in the entire world. But what he did is he recorded himself talking about the process. So especially when we're training our virtual assistants or acquisitions managers on everything to do with acquisitions, we need to build SOPs out. That's what I was working on. I was working on an SOP of exactly what to do when a new lead comes in, all the things that need to happen in a particular market in Florida. So instead of writing it out step by step, which is what I was doing, he recorded himself talking about the process, and then he put this into ChatGPT. So he said, take the transcript, build an SOP. The SOP should include a title, a summary, blah, blah, blah. Don't forget links. When he did that, it literally built a perfect SOP. So if you guys can see this, I put in the prompt, and then it said, okay, cool, give me the transcript of the video. Paste in the transcript of the video, and with magic, literal magic, it builds out the perfectly written, perfectly formatted SOP. And it even includes links to the freaking websites automatically. And that is when my life changed forever. I was like, what was that? I need all of that. I don't ever want to create an SOP again in my life. So in that moment, my team and I were just giving an army of invisible, insanely intelligent employees that were ready to work 24/7 and never get tired. That is literally when I think of AI, I think of these people. They're employees that they're ready to go. My team could immediately offload the tasks that sucked our energy and mental bandwidth. And I became obsessed with learning about how to communicate, set up, and integrate AI into every facet of my life and business. And you'll hear me talk if you guys follow me on Instagram, or if you guys have tuned into any of my master classes before. I talk a lot about my life stuff and how it's helped me in so many different areas automate my life, and then obviously in my business. So what am I doing now? I am a real estate investor. I am an AI automation coach. I have a business called REI Optimize, and I love to scale businesses. And I do everything that I can to create, I call them ethical shortcuts now. I'm like, I want ethical ways to save time, make things easier, make things better, and allow my team to activate themselves to the highest potential, all while following my passion and purpose, which is being with my girls, coaching my crew, and making a lot of money, because I want to do that too. And I have no shame. So I went through this AI glow up, I call it. This was kind of August 2023. I started watching the videos. I hired the coach, and I realized that ChatGPT is the tip of an iceberg. And I realized that it's really only a matter of time until there'll be $1 billion business with one employee because of all these incredible tools, which we're going to talk about today. This is pretty self-explanatory, but we way increased our revenue. We went from 5 to 3 employees. I have the 2 businesses. We're making 70% more with 2 less employees because of AI, and it's just incredible. So the new mission is to help businesses unlock their full potential with AI and optimization. I have an AI coaching business. A lot of my clients are land investors because I've been working with land investors very closely over the last 3 years, helping them implement launch control in their business. And if you want to take a screenshot of this, these are just some of the areas where AI is impacting the land business. So some simple ones like, well, actually, this might not be simple. We'll talk about this today. AI is hyper personalizing seller marketing campaigns. I'm going to show you guys today a couple of things we're doing. Hint, hint, I would never use a county name in a text message ever again because of AI. That will dramatically reduce your response rates if you're using county name. Generating property content for the buyer, reviewing sales calls, transcripts. It's also amazing for role-play seller calls. If we have time today, I will do that live with you guys. Prepping for a new market, creating email and text templates, launch control. Hello, we'll do that at the end. Obviously, the legal documents. I still want an attorney reviewing these documents, but they're great to get spun up. Due diligence, subdivide regulations, entitlement opportunities, cleaning up and prepping CSV docs, all sorts of amazing things. Finding builders and developers, helping prepare for meetings with brokers, surveyors, planning departments by generating tailored question lists and talking points. So that is just a little glimpse into how AI is affecting the land business. Okay. Today, we're going to go do 3 secrets. I'm going to do a bunch of demos. You're going to see a bunch of cool stuff. Let's get into it. Michael, so far, anything for me? Are you with me?
Yeah. So my one feedback on this so far is I looked down that list that you just had up on the screen of all the different ways that AI can influence your business, and it covers everything, right? It covers everything from legal all the way through anything that you're doing with Dispo, everything. What it does not do, what none of these things say, is basically turning AI into an auto dialer or turning AI into this machine to do heavy volume so that you can just shake the lowest hanging fruit on the tree. And I love that.
Nope.
Because I think that is the core mistake that people are making with AI.
I completely agree. I think that's the shortcut that's removing the touch. I think there still is this human element, and as AI starts to become more and more popular and the robotic phoning and all this, having a human being is going to be an advantage. And it's going to be an advantage, but that human being has to be doing all these things so you can afford to have this person doing what they do best, which is building a relationship with your 75-year-old seller. That is still not replaceable by anything. No matter what someone tells you, oh, there's AI that can do that call. It is not good. It is terrible. It is a robot. It's still a robot. Maybe in 10 years from now, I don't know. But right now, hell no. Nope. We are not doing that.
I agree.
I love it, Michael. So good. All right. So secret number 1 is that AI actually makes your business more personal, not less, but only if you know how to talk to it. So we're going to go through an example right now. So a lot of times when we're using launch control, when we're going to dispo a property, we often will reach out to a broker. We use a lot of broker realtors when we are selling our properties. We often talk to broker realtors too, right when we get into a new market, just to understand that market. So I'm going to set a situation for you. So let's say you have 2 new pieces of land for sale. You're struggling to sell them on your own, and you found a really great real estate agent online, and you need to send her an email to introduce yourself to her. 9 times out of 10, what people do in ChatGPT is they say something like this: write an email to a realtor named Sandy. We have 2 pieces of land for sale to sell in the Tampa area. Ask for a phone call to discuss. Do you resonate with this, Michael? You just go in there. People just say, write an email. Yep. This is the result. Terrible. Hey, Sandy, hope you're doing well. We have 2 pieces of land we're looking to sell. We'd love your expertise. I'd appreciate the chance to discuss. Would you be available for a call? Like, no details. Working with a broker realtor, for those of you that have been in this industry for a while, is not easy. They have to have a reason. Like, you're selling to them. Like, why the hell would she give me the time of day if she's so busy selling land. No details about the property. And ChatGPT wants to make you happy. So it just gave me a terrible email with terrible tone. So we're going to do it a better way. This is another slide you guys should screenshot if you have the ability. So when you are talking to AI, this is the 4-part process. So the first thing we have to do is we have to tell AI what its role is. Who is it? Then we have to tell it what's going on. Details. What is going on? What are these properties? Why are you selling these properties? Why are they great? Then you have to tell AI exactly what you're asking for. What is the end goal? You'll notice in this last thing here, the end goal, I guess, is a phone call to discuss, but like, what really is the end goal? And this is where we have to use our human brains. The end goal. Andy is so excited to talk to us about these properties. That's really the end goal, right? The end goal is not for us to ask to a phone call. It's for her to be excited. So as we're working through AI, it's kind of inception a little bit where you're really trying to figure out what the end goal is, because ChatGPT needs to understand that. And then this is so important. When you are communicating with AI at the very end, please ask clarifying questions. So let's do this together. So this is a better way of asking for this email. So you're a land investor looking for a real estate agent to sell land. I run a land investing business. We have 2 pieces of land right now we need to sell on the MLS. We need a great realtor to partner with and help us get these properties sold. They're in Spring Hill, Florida. We have a 2-acre and a 5-acre. We're also looking for someone to help us with properties in the future that come into our pipeline. Write an email to the 2 realtors, Sandy. The goal of the email, she feels super excited about working with us and wants to talk to us right away. Use a conversational and business-oriented tone that feels friendly. Please ask me clarifying questions. The first thing that it is going to do is, because you said, please ask me clarifying questions, it's going to ask you questions in order to create the most effective message. And this is where things start to get amazing. So every single time, whether you are building out a purchase agreement, launch control templates, maybe you're creating an objection handling script for your acquisitions managers to handle seller calls, you have to say, please ask clarifying questions. So here it comes. So it's saying, have you ever talked to Sandy, or is this cold? Do you have anything specific about Sandy's experience? Are there any unique selling points about your business that might be attractive to her? And as a result, it is such a better email, such a better email. So Callan here from Blank, I came across your impressive track record, 46 land deals in the last 12 months. That's seriously impressive. We're looking for a rock star realtor like you to partner with. Here's the scoop. 2 prime pieces of land, 2 acres and 5 acres, looking for an ongoing partnership. We're doing a bunch of deals in Tampa. We'd love to team up with someone who knows the land game inside out. Seems like that's you. What do you say we jump on a quick call with me and my team? We're pretty excited with potential here. We'd love to connect ASAP. Let you know if you can squeeze us in for a chat. We promise will be worth your time. You can already tell. Do you see the difference here in this tone, Michael, between this and the other one?
Yeah, so guys, I think that this asking clarifying questions thing is a brilliant suggestion. And write that down, screen share it, whatever, screen capture it, whatever you need to do. Because Callan, in my experience, if you give ChatGPT, for instance, a transcript from our Deal Nation episode that you recorded with me, and I just give it a simple prompt because it has a very, very isolated piece of material to pull from. And I give it a simple prompt that says something like, please summarize in 200 words or less the main talking points around AI from Callan's Deal Nation episode. It'll do a pretty good job because it has a very isolated piece of material to pull from. But when you want it to do something like write a letter, if you try to guess all of the things that it doesn't know, because it's like that employee that at any company you've ever worked for that's really, really good if you give them a detailed bullet point list of the things that they need to do. But they're not going to guess. They're not going to read between the lines. They're not going to do the nuanced stuff. They're only going to do exactly what you told them to do. It's like that. So if you try to guess what all of the things that it doesn't know are, you're going to end up with these like unwieldy prompts that say, don't say these words, don't use this, don't do this. And you get this really unwieldy prompt. Whereas if you just ask it, hey man, what do you know? What do you not know? Right? And it's giving you the clarifying questions. That answer, it takes all the guesswork out of your prompt structure, and it will save you a ton of time.
100%. I actually want to do this. I want to do an example on the fly here. So I'm going to say, let's say that you guys listened to Deal Nation. Can you see my screen still? Michael, you can see
Yeah.
the YouTube.
Yeah,
Okay.
we can.
So I want to do a live example. So let's say you guys listened to a podcast or you watched a YouTube video of launch control and you guys were like, oh my God, that was phenomenal, which they are. And let's say you want to walk into your office the next day and prepare a training for your team based on what you listened to on this podcast. So I'm going to come down here and I have this little app here. I can't remember what this app is called. This app is called Edify here. You can get the transcript, by the way, if you hit more and you go all the way down to show transcript. It's just kind of a biatch to copy. You have to like copy and paste all of it. I have this Edify Pro here, so I can just press copy. I also have this one too. I don't know what this one is, but there's a bunch of little transcript tools. Okay, so I am going to navigate to, this is the first time for some of you to see Claude. If you follow me at all, you've heard me talk about Claude. I actually, if I'm going to build anything with content, writing anything that includes launch control templates, I would never use ChatGPT, ever. At least for now, until it comes out with its newest model. ChatGPT is one of the worst copywriters on the planet for large language models. Claude is the #1 large language model for content writing. So if you guys are writing templates, letters, emails, we are going to do it in Claude. Okay, it is also $20 a month for the paid version. They do have a free version, but I do recommend the paid version. What I'm going to do is I'm going to paste the transcript in. So let's do it a roll. I'm just going to do this on the fly. World-class employee trainer for land acquisitions managers. The context. I listened to this podcast and it was so good. I want to train my acquisitions managers on the key concepts. The request, build out a slide deck overview presentation, just the text for the slide deck. I want slide titles, bullet points, and talking points for me to train them tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. It will be a 45-minute training. I want time to role play the exercises as well. What goes at the end, Michael?
What? Oh, please ask any clarifying questions.
Good job. Please ask clarifying questions. Okay, so
I just for a second.
You did. You're like, oh God, she's quizzing me. Okay, so I just made this up on the fly. Please ask clarifying questions. I pasted the transcript in, and now we're operating inside of Claude. So here we go. We're building out a slide deck overview presentation, and I'll tell you what I'm going to do with that in a moment. But this is so great. Even if you're not building a presentation, you can just build out a guide. So here we go. How many acquisitions managers will be in the training? We're going to say 2. What's their current experience level? We'll say brand new. Biggest challenge, let's say handling objections. Give a specific story bank. Kind of, definitely would love extracting stories from my team. Would you like me to include specific role play scenarios? Yes. Perfect. So you'll notice I just did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, easy peasy. And now it's designing a targeted training sessions. So here we go. We're building out a kind of a guide here. We've got slide 1, intro, slide 2, the power of stories, why people remember stories. People remember stories 22 times more than facts alone. Well, damn. That's really awesome. Talking points, share a quick example, the 4 pillars of acquisition storytelling, empathetic listening, creating agency, amazing, building your story bank. Great. Now, I'm just going to do this live so you guys can kind of see how I navigate in here. I'll say, first of all, we are land investors. So do not include any examples that deal with repairs or houses. Make all examples land investing examples. And then I would say, I do this a lot with AI. If you were running this training for your team, what would you improve on? I ask it a lot. Like, is this the best you can do? Is there anything you would do better? If you were thinking like I can't remember if you remember who the guy is that did this podcast.
Steve Rowling? Yeah.
Yes. If you were thinking like him, what would you improve? So here we go. Here's how I improve the training. Start with a hook story instead of an opening with goals. I'd start with a powerful 2-minute story about a land seller who was skeptical but understand the situation. Okay. Make the role play more specific rather than generic. Yes. Perfect. Yes. Do. So it's saying, would you like me to revise the full training deck? Yes. Revise the training deck. Please make up stories. I'll say very specific ones. Now,
so you're saying that AI is basically like 12-year-old me. It'll give you a B+ so it doesn't get grounded, but if you want an A, you're probably going to have to really push it.
100%.
Got it.
Absolutely. Yep, because it's trying to go quickly and it's trying to make you happy. So a lot of times I will say, slow down, take a breath, revise the training deck. I'm not even kidding you. Because if you give it permission to slow down, it will actually take its time going through the transcript rather than skimming the transcript. Because it skims it. It's not reading every single word of the transcript. It's just like pulling out and you'll notice here, it's even taking a little bit more time right now. Perfect.
Yeah. And, while this is coming up, I'll give everybody some insight here. So like those 5 kind of tenets that Callan went over, like, giving agency and showing empathy and that kind of thing. Like, it looks very linear here, and it looks very like it went in that kind of beat by beat fashion. It did not in the recording of the podcast. Like, the podcast kind of took a few tangents, and I had to rope in the speaker and say, okay, but let's go back to that empathy thing, and we would talk about that a little bit more. So it was more of a free-ranging conversation. But when you put it into a training module like this, it looks very clear, very focused. And that would have taken, like, imagine if even as the host, if I had to go through, re-listen to that, take notes on the flow of it, and then go to create this, like, is that worth 4 hours of my time or whatever it would have taken to create, when you can do this in literally seconds via the transcript and a couple of little updates?
Totally. It's so good. So good. I love it. So now we've got a better overview here. It's asking me, do you want to, any particular story? Do you want additional role play? And depending on how you're actually doing this training, you could definitely do more detail. For right now, I'm just going to copy this. Let's say my training starts in 5 minutes. I'm just going to give you guys a couple hacks here because I love doing this. This app is called Gamma. So write this one down. This is GAMMA.app. So if you notice here, I've got my slides. So I'm just going to copy my slides. I'm going to go to Gamma and I'm going to go to paste in text. I'm just going to paste in my slides, and you'll notice I'm building a presentation here. This can be used for, let's do 8 cards. This could be used. I use this all the time. I'm preparing for a quick meeting with a broker. I'm preparing for a quick meeting with an investor, with a developer, with whoever. Like, boom, pop it into Gamma, pop your notes in, and let's generate a PowerPoint. It definitely will need a little bit of editing, but it's oftentimes 80% there, which is so freaking awesome.
Yeah, I could see this, like, for instance, with anything that's a subdivide property that you're looking into, like, huge. It's so helpful.
Oh God, so helpful. And I even have a prompt that like generates the whole investor packet. So it just interviews you.
Oh, amazing.
And then generates, why are we being slow, Gamma? Well, let's refresh it. Hang on. Continue. And then in Gamma too, you can set your company text and fonts and colors and whatnot too. All right. She doesn't like it. Let's see if we can do one more with this. She doesn't go. We're moving on. Gamma works. It's great. We love it. Except for right now. Okay. Skipping it. We ain't doing it. This is AI on the fly.
It is Friday, you know.
It's
Even
Friday.
Gamma.
Gamma's taking a break.
Yeah.
Okay, that was a tangent. Let's just review. You are telling AI what to do. Do not skimp over this part. Just make sure that you're truly thinking about what you are asking. It's just like if you were working with your assistant. You're not going to just jump over to your assistant's office and say, write an email to Sandy, bye. You're going to say, hey, I need a call with Sandy in the next 48 hours. I want her to read this email and I want her to stop dead in her tracks and be so excited about working with me. That is the only way. So stop being very broad and not specific to AI. Anything there, Michael? Does that make sense as a talking point?
No, it makes perfect sense, and that's why I want to just reiterate the importance of asking that clarifying question prompt, right?
Yeah.
Because it's if you give it very specific information about the output that you want, it will give you the output that you want. You know, you might have to add a little bit of polish for your tone or your voice, but it'll give you the general output that you want. And look, like that example you gave, like if you go to your assistant and you go, "Hey, write an email to Sandy. We gotta talk about those Tampa parcels in Tampa, outside Tampa," and that's all you give them. It's your fault if you get crap results back because you weren't specific about the outcome that you wanted, right? So you have to treat this much the same way. Give it the outcome that you want, and it'll deliver.
Yep. People say that to me all the time. They're like, oh, AI, it doesn't sound good. The content doesn't sound good. I'm like, no, you don't know how to talk to it.
Yeah.
It's actually user error. I'm so sorry to tell you. Okay, let's do emotionally connected property listings. How about that? So a lot of people, 99% of land investors, you guys get a great lead in launch control. We close it. We get it under contract. We start listing it. You go into ChatGPT, or worse, your VA goes into ChatGPT and they write this. Can you build me, can you build me a land listing description for MLS? I'm marketing this property to potential buyers. Okay, that's terrible. Option 2 is we want to make the buyer feel something. And this is like marketing 101. I mean, it's the same thing with the seller. We want to elicit emotion. As we are going through the process of buying land from a seller, we want to create emotion with them. We want to create an emotion around how good it would feel to get a check, to get cash put into their account. That's why often you'll hear our team talking about what is upcoming for you financially, like how can we support you? It's the same thing with buyers. I think sometimes we get really focused on the one or the other. Some people are so focused on buyers and they're not focused on sellers, and vice versa. But with our land business, we run 2 sales teams. We have 2 sales businesses. I'm sorry to say. But when we're talking to the buyer, we want to make them feel excited. We want them to be motivated to go quick. We want them to feel confident. We want them to be inspired. We want them to feel connected. How do we do that? We do that by building property listings that actually elicit emotion. So this is the first time that I'm going to show you a multi-step prompt. So both of the things I did before were kind of a single step prompt where I just stayed inside of one system. This one, I am going to show you, this is actually how I build property listings. I'm going to do a 2-step prompt. So the first step, and this is the first time I'm showing you guys a new system, this is called Perplexity. So I have 3 tools I use on a regular basis: ChatGPT, Claude, and Perplexity. Perplexity is where I go when I want real-time sources for something. So if you guys are doing market research, let's just say you're in that process, you're trying to choose your market and launch control, you're figuring out where you want to be, you're pulling a list. I would not ever pull a list without doing research in Perplexity about that market. So let's do an example here. Let's say I have a property for sale. Let's say it's in Spring Hill, Florida, 13.45 acres. This is my prompt. You are a world-class geospatial analyst, real estate investment expert, and data mining specialist. Your exceptional skills allow you to extract and synthesize valuable insights about an area using minimal initial input. You are tasked with creating a comprehensive area analysis report for potential rural land buyers. Your job is to make the buyer think, wow, this area is amazing. It has everything I need, and it's a great investment. I think we often forget about this second piece when we're talking to buyers is, you talk a lot about what it has. You're like, it has a well and a septic tank, but we forget to say Also, in this area, land has increased X% over the blank amount of years. And over the next blank years, it is expected to increase blank percent. Because even if someone's building a house for their family, they still want to know that this area is great and a good investment. So here's our request. Here's what we want. I want the location, why this is a great market to buy in, all the nearby attractions, the local economy, the demographics, the investment potential, interesting facts and trivia, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so we are going to copy this prompt. I'm going to take it into Perplexity. I'm just going to paste it in here. And now we're going to run the comprehensive area analysis report. Again, Perplexity's job is to make the buyer think, wow, this area is amazing and has everything I need, and it's a great investment. So here it goes. I'm going to show you what it's doing right now, which is so cool. It is doing Google searches. So it's Google searching Spring Hill, Florida, county and nearby cities, Spring Hill, Florida, accessibility and transportation, Spring Hill, Florida, rural land investment potential, why I invest in rural land in Spring Hill, real estate market advantages. It is doing like 40 Google searches at one time. It is reading all of the responses, all of the results from those searches, and it's going to aggregate it together into a beautiful, comprehensive area analysis report. We're going to let this run. Have you done this before, Michael? Have you used Perplexity?
No, I have not. And I love this for the market analysis side of things. That's amazing.
100%. It's so important. It's so important to be investing in an area that buyers are going to be excited about. I think we often look at a market. I know people look at sell-through rates and they look at, people have different things that they're looking at, but I really look at it from a buyer's point of view first. And that's why I like to talk to a broker before I get into this area, because I will call a broker in Spring Hill and I'll say, hey, tell me about the average buyer. Like, who is calling you for land? What is their budget? What do they want? What type of land do they want? In the Panhandle, I called a realtor and they're like, they want land that is $20,000 to $30,000, less than a half acre, and it has to be able to have a mobile home. That is the buyer that's calling me right now. Yeah. Okay. Well, before I was going after these 5-acre properties and I was trying to do minor subdivides. Well, guess what? There's no buyers for that right now in the Panhandle. So this is why this is so important.
Yeah, so, and one thing, like I was looking at a market recently myself, and the price points for the land is quite high, but I know that there's a lot of demand in that area. So like when Seth was on a Monday, we were talking about lending services, where if there's a huge amount of demand for that land and you're going to be able to get, even if it's a bigger ticket deal, but the profit that you're going to get from it, because it is going to turn over quickly, because it is one of these areas that you can use a tool like this to really drum up excitement quickly, your profit structure on that's going to be sky high, so I think sometimes, especially when people are getting started, they're looking for areas that have super cheap land, and sometimes the super cheap land isn't in high demand, right? So finding a nice sweet spot and using this can be really, really helpful.
Absolutely. Completely agree with you. Love it. So here's just kind of over the top. You'll see every time it gives you a result. So this is affordable land prices with a medium home value of blank. This is the source in which this information came from. You'll notice that when you operate inside of ChatGPT, it's actually recently giving you some sources, but it's not the best. These sources are a little bit better than the ChatGPT sources. So here you can see exactly where this information is coming from. I like to do kind of quick peek especially if I'm presenting something to an investor. I just want to take a quick peek at like where this information is coming from. I could even say like never use Wikipedia as a source, and it will go redo everything not using Wikipedia. Okay, so we have now, here's the land use and zoning information. Here's the environmental considerations, investment potential, interesting facts, amazing. So the summary, strong population growth, well-developed infrastructure. Okay, here's some potential challenges. Great. So I'm going to copy this because I love what it's coming back with. And especially if I'm selling land there, I definitely want people to know that the population is increasing like crazy and we're growing, we're building. You guys could even add in more information. Like please include the top 4 biggest development projects in the area that would make a buyer feel really strong about investing in this area. Okay, so that was step 1, is we're going to research the market, and then we're going to write the listing. Then we are going to write the listing. We are not going to write that listing until we have all of the market research information. So, Michael, I'm going to quiz you. If we were going to write content, do you remember what large language model we're going to use?
Which tool that we're going to use?
Yep.
Yeah. What's it called? Not ChatGPT.
We're going to use Claude.
Claude. Yes.
Claude.
I was like, I know it's an odd name. I couldn't remember. Yes, Claude.
Name. Exactly. Perfect. Yeah. Good job. So
like,
I have so Claude is our writer. So step
it's
2.
It's a name of like a butler or also an AI tool. One of
Exactly. So this is our prompt now. So you're a world-class real estate copywriter and SEO expert. Why SEO expert? Because the MLS, Zillow, Land.com, Redfin, they are all, at the end of the day, operating on SEO too. And you can get your listings to show up in Google searches if you do your SEO properly. So when you create a property listing, make sure you're telling it to do an SEO property listing focusing on buyer priorities. And it says emphasize development potential, accessibility, practical investment details, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Buyer concerns to address. We're always addressing these. Here's rules and next steps. And some of these rules, by the way, like these SEO keywords, I had a meeting with one of the back-end engineers for land.com, and that's where I got a lot of this information to build this prompt out. Okay, so I'm going to paste that in there. And then if you remember in the inputs, I'm actually going to paste all of the results that came from Perplexity so that it has that as well. And now it's going to go write my listing description. I did put in the location, the coordinates, the land size, the zoning, the utilities, and the access. And obviously you can put in any other information here if you have it. So here we go. And one of the things too you'll notice is there's a reason why I'm doing the intro, catch the buyer's attention in one sentence. I learned this from the land.com engineer. So he said the same thing on Zillow, on Redfin, on land.com. You want the one sentence to catch the buyer's attention at the top. So do not lead with, this is an A1 7-acre property. No. One sentence to capture their attention to make them feel something. Briefly summarize it in 2 sentences, and then move into some key featured, and then we go into the detailed description. So this is what, again, this is just what happens with AI. It gets so fun when I actually know how to build a bomb.com listing because I've done all this research and I've done all the testing. Then I use AI to make it even better.
Yeah. So Callan, you mentioned earlier when you did the Deal Nation transcript that sales processes that involve stories convert at 22% more, something like that, right?
100%.
And the same logic goes into what you're showing here, which is it's old school marketing terms, but you have to have a combination of an emotional appeal and a factual appeal. And oftentimes people just trend towards one or the other. Oh, you're going to love this property. It's a great vacation spot, but there's no facts, right? Yep. Or it's just facts. 20 acres. Here's the price. Here's the, and it's like nothing but the facts, ma'am. It's the combination of the two and in the proper order that really gets people to take action.
Absolutely. No doubt. No freaking doubt. This is great. This is why I said, please ask clarifying questions. Cause it's like, excuse me, what's the asking price? You forgot that. 145K. Let's see if it has any other questions for me. Otherwise it's ready to rock. Here we go. Premium 13.45 acre land ready for sale, development ready with utilities. Here's that 2-sentence overview, getting them ready to go. And it's formatted. You notice it's formatted properly. Then we go into those key features, just easy to read. People do not like to read long paragraphs. They love the bold. Then we get into detailed description. So even if someone just read this, your goal is that just in this area, the correct buyer will know that this is a good fit for them. Then we go into the detailed description, development advantages, location benefits, market growth, and investment potential. Again, Spring Hill's robust growth metrics makes this property particularly attractive. This area has demonstrated strong population growth. Current market trends show steady appreciation, blah, 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 blah. It's in an expansion corridor. again, even if someone's just buying a piece of land to build their house, they want to know that they're in an expansion zone and that there's tons of development. Some of you guys obviously are doing a lot of rural stuff. But even then, like even referencing the closest major city, even if it's 2 hours away, it's important to let them know that. Natural features, economic development, 10.8% increase in household income. We love it. And then here's the call to action. And again, you could say, is there anything you would do to improve this? Let's just see if it comes back with anything. Make sense, Michael? Any questions here on building out?
Yeah. So here's my question. A lot of times with these kind of, what people are putting together for buyers that I see is it tends to fall into the two extremes of either just being too brief or too long, too lengthy, right? It didn't say enough or it said too much. And what I like about this, but I'm curious if you ever give it parameters in terms of length of content, because what I like about this is that it does what I always teach my marketing teams, which is you have to pass the scan test, right? As you alluded to. And so it's got those key features. So for those people that are literally, whether you're using a mouse or a trackpad or whatever, the people that are never going to touch that, if it's not on screen, that's all they're going to see, right? So that what's on screen has to sell everything. You have to sell everything in that window or get it to sell everything. And then if below the fold, you have additional information for the readers in the room, then that's okay, right? That's just the marketing best practices across industries, sales best practices across industries. But when you're doing this, do you have what you've seen in your business as being kind of in terms of length, a sweet spot for conversion? And do you prompt this to stay within that sweet spot?
I do. Yeah. So you'll notice here, I've got 1 sentence, 2 sentences, and then 500 to 600 words only in the detailed description. That's what I've found to be the best and checks out with my land.com engineering conversation. Now, that doesn't mean I don't also build a full-blown guide to every property, because this is just the listing, right? This is just bringing them in to you. But then let's say they actually are in, and now we had a call or we had an email. Now we need a guide, because that's when now we want them to have something to fully read. So let's do this. Please build a full, write this down, plain text artifact. This is how we communicate with Claude. That is formatted perfectly as a guide to this property. When a buyer calls in, we will have an intro call, and then I want to follow up with this property guide so that every single question about this property is answered. Please ask clarifying questions. Now you'll notice when I say please build a plain text artifact, it's going to actually build out. Oh, it's going to ask me questions first. Okay, so here we go. Now it's like, I got a million questions for you. Are there deed restrictions? Are there existing surveys? What are the exact steps needed? For this particular example, because we're short on time, I'm going to say, please make up answers for a demo, because I'm just demoing here. And it's just going to answer all those questions. Now, plain text artifact is going to open up on the right-hand side, which I love visually. It just makes a lot more sense for me. And here we go. Now we've got the comprehensive property guide. We've got a table of contents. We've got all the physical characteristics, the improvements, the environmental considerations. If you are a virtual assistant watching this, this is where you could interview your somebody. You could interview the acquisitions manager. A lot of times I know VAs, you work for an acquisitions manager, and just take the transcript of all the answers to these questions from your acquisitions manager and then bring that in here. So a lot of times I notice in my business too, my team will send me these, like, can you answer these questions? No, just interview me. Just turn on loom.com or turn on AudioPen. It's a great little transcription tool, and interview me to extract the information out of me quickly. And then we can just paste this in, and now we have a full-blown.
I have a question for you, Callan. This is like really, really comprehensive and professional on the dispo side, right? And something that I see a lot on the seller or acquisition side is a lack of testimonials of what it's like working with your company, a lack of just kind of materials about what the process of selling a property is in an off-market, through the off-market route. Do you use this at all to put together those kind of materials to help build trust with on the seller side?
100%. So in every single business that I have, I use this prompt all the time. So I think after you have a great deal go through, especially when you purchase a property, I want you to interview the seller and I want you to talk to them. So let's just do that on the fly. I'm going to do that on the fly here without this case study builder. So the first thing is, let's say you just had a really great, you just closed on a deal. Everyone's happy. You just wired the money. I would call up the seller and I literally would have my phone on speaker and I would just turn on either Loom or Audio Pen. Loom.com is pretty easy. Do you guys use Loom internally, Michael? Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, of course.
Perfect. Cool.
I'm sure that my team is tired of me leaving Looms, but it's a great tool.
Exactly. So this is kind of a hack. So let's just say I'm on the phone. Can you see my screen still? You can see this Loom video popped up.
Yeah.
Cool. So I would just hit start recording and I would literally be on speaker with the seller. I would say, hey, seller, do you mind if I ask you a couple questions about the experience, just so I can capture this and potentially make it a testimonial for future people? Would that be okay? Okay, cool. I'm just going to pause it for a second. And now I'm just going to ask Claude to give me some ideas. You are a world-class case study for a testimonial. I'm going to say case study builder. Context. I run a land investing business and I need better stories for our acquisitions team to talk to sellers and build trust faster. Request, please give me 10 questions to ask a seller after we purchase their land to build better case studies. I'm not going to say, please ask clarifying questions, because I don't really want it to. Right now, I'm just going to have it go. So first things first, right? You don't have to think about it. Just ask Claude, hey, what questions should I ask? So what initially motivated you to sell their land? Can you tell me about how you acquired the property? What were your biggest concerns? Could you walk me through what surprised you most about our buying process compared to what you expected? I love it. Love it, love it, love it. So call your seller, get them on the phone. You don't need to have them record a video. You don't need to have them record anything on their own. Just call them, pull up a Loom video, and ask them all of these questions. When the Loom video is complete, over on the right-hand side, you're going to go to the transcript and you're going to get that whole transcript for that call. Now in Claude, I'm just going to say, please make up a demo transcript with a seller. Are you tracking with me, Michael, of how I would collect the story here?
Yeah, absolutely.
Amazing. So I just made up a land seller interview transcript. Here's Sarah. I interviewed this property for my dad. I was worried about getting taken advantage of. Blah, blah, blah. I was expecting months and months of back and forth, but the virtual tour of the property, you showed me things about the land I didn't even know. It was a weight lifted off my shoulders. I paid off my kids' loans. Okay, amazing. Amazing interview with Sarah. Now you have a transcript of talking to a seller. Now you can build the case study. So I'm going to copy my prompt here, and you'll notice I have this prompt library. I think every single person should have a prompt library of kind of all their prompts they've used over the years, or over the years. For the freaking months. How long has AI been here? I'm going to copy this prompt. We're going to go into Claude. Now, this says, I want you to act as a world-class case study builder. Your job is to turn an interview transcript into an undeniably irresistible case study for my brand. So the rules is you're going to build this case study, and you don't have to do it like this. You can make it very simple. You can just say, build a great case study that has stories and data and et cetera, et cetera. But I'm obviously going above and beyond because I already have this. I'm going to paste in the transcript with the seller. And again, I have IP and frameworks around building a case study. Like I use Russell Brunson's Epiphany Bridge to write the backstory. So here's the long form case study. Here was Sarah Johnson found herself between this and this. Here are some exact quotes from Sarah, the turning point, the transformation, the results, the future, the call to action. And then here's the 2-sentence case study. Now, I would say if you were a sales coach, how would you craft this into a story that my acquisitions manager could use? When would they use it? So when should you use this story? So if you're speaking with someone who lives far away from their property, if you're dealing with inherited land situations, dealing with anyone that has an emotional attachment, speaking to parents who might want to fund education for their kids, or addressing concerns about remote transactions. So this is really important. This is like acquisitions 101. We often talk about it as feel, felt, found. So when you figure out what your current seller is feeling, you immediately want to attach it to a story that makes sense. So this is what, let's just say you're talking with someone who inherited land. It's like, hey, let me tell you about Sarah. I totally understand how you feel because my client, Sarah, felt the exact same way. And what she found after working with us is that she was juggling 3 kids in college. She was dealing with taxes she didn't need. But what really kept her up at night is feeling that she might be betraying her dad's dream of building something there. So what's really interesting is she actually had a higher offer from someone else. But here's what made her go with us. Our team, blah, 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 resolution. Okay. Key phrases to use. Oh my gosh, this is so good. Tactical tips for your team, matching story elements, key details. This is amazing. So I would pull this out and obviously have like a story database. Honestly, let's go AI.
I love that you brought that up, and because it's funny that you chose that Deal Nation episode to pull the transcript from, because one of the questions that I had for Steve Rawling was, if you have a good story bank, could you create a decision tree, right? 100%. Not a script, but a decision tree. So if you get, and you can map this out, where you get objection A, you use, positive experience story B. And if you get objection B, you use example of failure C. And like what I mean by example of failure is somebody says that they want to go a different route. And you say, okay, well, look, I bought a property very similar about 3 years ago. I had the exact same thought. It's logical. It makes sense. Here's how it transpired. And you're showing that it didn't go the way that you want, but you've got that in your story bank so that you can then train your team, right? Follow that progression and use those stories.
Yep. We're going a little advanced here, but this is called a Claude project. And I teach all about this in my AI training. But in here, we could have all of the stories loaded in on the back end of this custom project. So if you go to add content here, we build a knowledge base. And then every time you talk to this, let's just go back to that chat. I'm just going to grab this story here. I'm going to go back to the project, land stories. I'm just going to add this story. So land story with Sarah. I'm going to paste that story in. And then in this project instructions, I would say, like, you are a world-class storyteller for a land investing acquisitions team. The acquisitions manager will tell you what they are hearing from the seller, and you will feed them the right story based on the pain point. I would do a lot more details there, but just bear with me. And then I would say, let's make up 4 more stories for demo purposes that match pain points. We'll just create some more stories, and I'll just show you how I'd load these in. I'll show you how I'd use this. This is sweet. I've never thought about this before. I love when this happens live.
Yeah.
This is the best. This makes my brain happy. I get to use it. So we've got David's story, property tax burden, financial stress. Okay, cool. Then we've got the Martinez family, inherited property, the Thompson vacant one, the land story. Perfect. And then the Eleanor story. Love it. And you guys obviously don't even have to interview your clients. Like, you could even just, go through and really spend an hour or two, like, extracting stories that make sense. So I'm going to go.
I don't want to go too deep down a rabbit hole here because I do want to spend a little bit of time before we close things down on message creation, because I know
Let's
we
do
have
it.
some questions about that. But
Let's do
what I
it.
will say about this, that if you like really think through the through line of this, is that you could then take this, and I'm sure you could do a whole separate thing on this, but you could take these success stories and use these as social media content for your company, so that you're showing the impact for sellers of what it's like working with you. And then you could take those success stories and you could prompt them in a launch control drip automation, so that the click-through action that people take is to go to your social media, where they're again gaining trust, gaining insight into what it's like working with your company. And when your acquisitions manager gets back on the phone, they're not selling trust anymore. They're just selling outcomes. And that
100%.
is a lot easier.
100%. 100%. I love it. Okay. This is really cool. Land stories, amazing. We just saw something brand new. Love it. Okay, let's go to launch control text templates together here. So, launch control templates. I have a prompt for launch control templates. We are going to, this one actually does have property city. So this is my prompt, and I'm happy to share this with your with your crew, Michael. I'm not sure how to get this to them, but
Okay, that'd be
I wonder if I
amazing.
can put this in the chat. Let's see here. Oh yeah, Alex. Yep. Let me just do a quick. I know people are asking like, oh no, I can't use county. How do I use city? I'm just going to give you a 1-minute overview of clay.com. This is a tool that I use to, before we generate, before we add in any lists to launch control, oops, I shouldn't show the password, huh? Hang on. Before we put any list in launch control, we always put our leads into clay.com first. And this tool is like unbelievable. So we can use, let's go to do the Texas Triangle list. So we import all of our seller leads in here. If you don't even know what clay.com is, you can go on Upwork or Fiverr and you can hire a clay.com expert. I did, and they are incredible. So I imported my seller leads in here. And then I used AI. Let's go to the city name. So as you guys know, we oftentimes don't always get the city. I think it's nearest city, closest city. Let's see here. We don't always get the city, but we do get the lat long. So that's why we use county, obviously, because input property city is often blank. So what we did is inside of clay.com, this is like Google Sheets on steroids because you can connect it to ChatGPT. So if we go here, you'll notice that we have nearest city. So if I go to edit column, you will see here that I am using ChatGPT inside of clay.com. So I am using ChatGPT and I'm saying, what is the closest city by distance to these lat long coordinates? I'm bringing the latitude and longitude in, and I'll say reply with city name and no other text or punctuation. You must find the closest city, even if it's small. Then it brings in all of the blank. Like if it didn't have input property city, it's going to find the closest city and fill in all the gaps. And then we merge the records together on this one. So this is going to, first it's going to try to use the input property city and bring that in. But then if it's blank, then it's going to bring in the one that it found in AI. Because we're doing this, we never, ever have to use county name ever again. We can put city name in every single text that we are sending. I'm going to pause on that. Michael, does that make sense? Very high level.
Yeah, the little comment box here won't let me do fire emojis, but you know that's an amazing tool.
Amazing. Yeah, we train a lot on that in my in our 8-week course. Okay.
Yeah, and the other reason I like that, other than just being able to name city, is the more hyper targeted you can be with your data and knowing who you're talking to, the better results that you're going to get. And you know, launch, you can go as small as a batch of 50, but a batch of 50, when you know the exact city, the exact property demographics,
Yep.
and owner demographics.
Mm-hmm.
insane. Like,
this is how we're getting crazy response rates, because we're bringing in the closest highway, the closest road, the airport that's less than 2 hours away. I am not texting someone and saying, and of course these messages I'm going to show you with this template are going to be broad, but this is how AI is changing the game. And this is a little bit of my IP around kind of how I've changed the game here, but giving you guys a little bit of sneak peek into where AI and personalization is just taking it to a whole nother ballgame.
No matter what market you're doing land acquisitions in, if you're just pulling a list of people that are behind on taxes and you're sending everybody the same message in that county, you have competition.
100.
But you have almost no competition, because this drill down tactic is not being utilized that much. And so you have a window of opportunity right now to really, really get ahead of the competition doing this.
100%. So if I'm doing, this is very high level, but if I'm doing text templates, I'm going to do them in Claude, because that's where we write content. So I'm going to give them all of the negative keywords. We have to use alias, rep name, and company name. Every SMS must have 3 spinner tokens for variability. Here's the spinner tokens. Ensure the message includes a query or statement. Inquire about goals. Let them know that we spoke. Here's the closing. So I'm just going to send this bad boy in, and we're going to get some examples back here, and we'll talk about it. So we can say delete this video here. Okay. So let's say, update. I now have some more custom fields. Let's say I have the closest airport as a custom field. I'll say IE DFW. I have the closest major highway, i.e. Highway 60. Please get creative and add those fields into the template. And sometimes it'll get a little bit too long. And so you can go back and just say, hey, makes sense. But, hello from blanket company. Your land caught my eye. Great spot near nearest airport and highway. Our team works with partners, collaborates with landowners in prime locations. Drop me a line, share your thoughts. Let's discuss. After speaking with recorder department about your land near nearest highway and DFW, or, within 2 hours of DFW, you might need to tweak these a little bit. I always say it's 80% there, right? Like, this gets you something there. Our team specializes and excels at helping landowners achieve their goals. Let me know. Love to chat. Let's connect soon. But this type of stuff is how you're going to differentiate yourself from everyone in the land investing space.
Yeah, and something that I could suggest as well here, Callan, that love to get your feedback on this as well, is there are, within each one of these messages, there's a segment of that message that is hyper specific to the city, to the type of land, to regional markers like an airport, etc. But there are 2 other parts of each one of these that are more of like follow-up, like a CTA, like, well, let me know when is a good time to connect, or hey, it's Callan over at REI Optimize. And so what you can do is kind of a side library for the spinner text, because I know that gives people headaches sometimes, is you take those and you just give that, like, hey, it's Callan over at REI Optimize, and give it a prompt to create 10 versions of that. And then you take the ones that you like and you save it into a library. And for those like call to actions, save your calls to action into a library. So if you're feeling like this is too repetitive, or worse, if launch control says this is too repetitive, you don't have to go back to the prompts necessarily. You can just copy and paste from your library to put in a few of those additional elements, because the spinning a word in a spinner token, as in like synonyms, that gets tough to do. But it actually adds a lot more variety and will keep your templates active for longer if you spin those parts of speech, because by doing that, it adds additional variety to your messages. So it can be another quick little prompt that you use to give yourself copy paste speed ups.
Love it. I love it. So good. So good. I'm gonna stop sharing here. I know we're kind of inching towards the end here. I'm just looking through the chat, Michael, making sure I didn't miss anything.
Yeah, we just got asking if you were going to share the prompts. I know you're going to share it with the launch control team. We can, anybody coming in, talking to our team, we can make sure if you're doing land and you want to implement these, we can work through the CS team to have those available.
Yeah.
And then let's see what else. I think that's it as far as questions. You guys have any questions? I know that this was a ton of information, super useful. I'm sure everyone's going to have to go back and do a little rewatch and take some copious notes. But if you've got any other questions, you've got Callan live here now. Is Perplexity the best for market research?
I'm really a big fan of Sumner Healy's product, that Land Insights product. Like, he's using AI to extract all this crazy amount of information. I think he takes the cake. Like, Perplexity's, it's fine. Like, it's great. It'll get you some good information. But if we're really getting deep on the acquisitions market research, I would highly recommend Land Insights.
Okay. Yeah, we're going to do some stuff with them in February, actually, more educational kind of thing. So if anybody's listening, we're going to be working directly with those guys, and we'll put you in contact there as well.
Love it. So good. Cool. Amazing.
All right. Well, Sarah, I'm going to type a response out to you right now. You'll get that in a second. For everyone that was able to make it today, thank you so much for attending. We really appreciate it. The replays will be live in the live section of Launch Control's YouTube channel. So go back, watch the replay. We'll email it to everyone as well. And do go back and watch some of the earlier workshops if you missed them. Land Week as a collection of modules, it's just a really great resource for anybody that's either building or gap filling for their land business.
I love it. Follow me on Instagram, guys. I've got a free masterclass coming up in a couple weeks. Sarah, you were on my last one. Thank you for coming on, Sarah. I saw her message. That's amazing. And happy to support. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for having me on. As always, this was fun.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I'll just leave this up for 1 second, guys. If you want to connect over to REI Optimize, that's obviously the QR code on the left. And if you just want to grab a quick scan for launch control, you can scan that QR code there.
Sweet.
All right. Well, thank you all. Really appreciate it. We'll wrap this one up. Have a happy Friday and have a wonderful weekend. Bye.
Bye, guys. See ya.